WCA and how they handle the nuts and bolts, the bones of a show, the refs, the gloves, the blood work, things like that. Continual, consistent, good job, and here we go. Now, you'd think with how both these guys win fights, they would want to keep it on their feet mostly.
Yeah, sharp jab from Poe. You know, he looks comfortable in there. Ooh,
oh,
beautiful.
Mixing up over-under with that uppercut.
Yeah, right hook, right uppercut, and then Cavanaugh responds with an inside leg kick.
So Poe is a CageZilla veteran. Third fight here for CageZilla. I've had the pleasure to see both of his previous 2 fights, and he is a fighter that brings the pace.
We also have a southpaw versus orthodox matchup, so you're going to see a lot of straight rights or straight lefts in this case land. That's not, oh, just like that, you know, firing hard, you're walking into the danger.
Very, very good point, Charles.
And that's always a trickier matchup for the right-handed fighter, I think, just because you see more right-handed fighters in gyms. You have to make it a point to seek out a lefty to train against them.
Absolutely. You have to circle a completely different way, because if you don't adjust, you're going to be going into that power hand.
Exactly. And it is amazing how many times you see at every level people circling towards the power hand. It blows my mind.
You know, and the other thing, too, is that any kick you throw, you could throw a very, very hard inside leg kick. And that's significant. You know, ooh, big counter left.
Absolutely.
Cavanaugh responded with the takedown, but Poe was able to get that underhook, and it looks like he's going to try to turn. He's going back for it. Cavanaugh will go for the single. He gets it, but it's an awkward position. He's in a, you know, Poe has the Kimura right there, and he's going for it. He's got his head trapped, and he has the Kimura.
If he can keep control of that head, gosh, what another nice roll out of Cavanaugh. Still in trouble.
Excellent defense. He was in danger to go for the armbar.
Look at that transition to the armbar. Didn't quite get that second leg over. But now he's transitioning.
He went for the triangle, and now he's back to the armbar. It's extended. There's a lot of space, though. Poe was able to get his elbow out.
Great job. Once again, what a matchup.
Some high-level jiu-jitsu right there.
You know, I step away to talk to our owner for a second, and I heard the crowd scream. I had to come sprinting back to the broadcast table.
Timing is everything, Chris. This is another stellar matchup. And, of course, both these fighters, their only losses are to submissions. So it looks like they've been brushing up and trying to correct that weakness.
Both guys electing to stand after that last exchange.
Nice straight punches from Cavanaugh starting to land.
Big uppercut landed there.
Uppercuts from Poe right back.
Oh, my gosh.
Another one. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. That's it.
He was out on his feet.
Wow.
Nice
saved by the bell.
By Matt. Oh, that was the bell.
That was the bell right at the last second. Yeah, I thought he was ready to call it. You know, he ate a couple of hard unanswered shots, and I think one more might have been it.
Yeah.
Fellas.
He looked. His eyes were a little glazed over. He looked like he was out on his feet.
Yeah, I mean, it happened right in front of the booth. And, you know, he needs to take his time here and recover, because if he comes back with that same strategy, it's not going to bode well for him.
And I thought late Poe had the advantage. I'm sorry, Cavanaugh had the advantage with the straight punches. But once Poe adjusted the range a little bit, boy, those uppercuts are no joke.
You're absolutely right. You know, he has a distinct advantage in the clinch. And Cavanaugh was landing some really good kicks. He was setting up his punches well. But Poe kind of just moved forward. And like we were talking about, you know, he's old and wise. And he got it up against the cage where he wanted it. And we saw some immediate success right there.
Well, Cavanaugh looks like he's got his wits about him again. Looks like he's ready to go. Poe looks strong, man.
Very strong. Recovery, a hugely underrated aspect of a fighter's just physical makeup.
You know, these next couple seconds are really important. You know, it's important that Paul doesn't get hit too hard. He kind of lets himself recover a little bit longer, circle, enjoy the pressure, enjoy the lack of pressure, and then go from there.
So, Charles, speaking of recovery, is there anything that you can do in training that helps you recover?
Yeah, well, you know, any sort of high-level training where you're getting your heart rate up to an extremely elevated point, nice takedown, allowing it's called a Tabata or a 20-10. 20 seconds of high-intensity exercise, working out, getting your heart rate up, and then 10 seconds slow. And if you do that for enough time, your recovery is intense and it's quick.
So even if you get your bell rung like that, you can bounce right back.
You're absolutely right. And it looks like Cavanaugh has done that because he got the takedown and was able to move right into side control.
And some of that is whether you're Chris Lieben or you're Andrei Arlovsky. You know,
Right.
Andrei Arlovsky's jaw may be a little suspect. Chris Lieben's head apparently made out of carbon fiber.
Right.
You're only born with a certain amount of granite, and it looks like Paul has plenty of his.
So Cavanaugh finds himself on top here of Leonard Poe. Both fighters similar records. Cavanaugh at 4-2, Poe at 4-3.
You know, and Cavanaugh is in a deep side control. He's comfortable here. He's really trying to separate that hand and go for some sort of submission. Takes over to Mount.
Oh, that was a beautiful transition.
And now he has Mount with Leonard Poe up against the cage. Poe's holding on to not allow him to posture up. He has his arms crossed, actually in almost a head and arm choke, but you just can't finish that from the bottom.
This is a bad spot for Leonard Poe.
Yeah.
He is just holding on for dear life right now.
A lot of round left.
You know, something that people might not notice is that Cavanaugh was actually using the cage to balance. He was forcing all of his weight forward because he knew he couldn't get rolled over because of that cage.
And perfectly legal to use it as leverage, not legal to grab it. If you hook a toe or a finger in, then referee's going to get involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jay.
So Cavanaugh doing a good job of sitting right on the belly button so he can't get thrown off. Gets up a little too high, gets bucked off. Gets a little too low, and it's easier for Poe to roll out of it. But Cavanaugh doing a great job staying on top. And now just raining down heavy hands.
Trying what he can, keeping those long arms up, trying to intercept some of these blows.
Yeah, you know, Poe's in a really tough spot here because he can't trip and he can't explode. His back is not to the mat. He can't use his hips to get out of there. So what he needs to do is he needs to shift his weight onto one of Cavanaugh's legs and then get his back away from the cage. That's going to give him the space necessary.
And it's like he's listening to you, Charles.
It kind of, you know, I know he's a little too close to the cage for this, but it looked for a second like he was isolating that right arm. But now he's just raining down punches.
Yeah. You know, Poe's protecting himself, but he's just not active enough. And
referee Matt Goodhart right in there. That was
another save by the bell.
Wow. You know, the first round, Cavanaugh was saved by the bell, and then this round, Poe was saved by the bell.
Yeah, and a long time for Poe to be in that position. A long time for Cavanaugh to try to maintain that pressure. Once again, we're seeing two fighters who have never been knocked out, and we're seeing why.
That's absolutely right, Jay.
Well, this will be the third and deciding round for sure. You know, it's obviously Poe had the first round and Cavanaugh had the second round, so this will do it.
And, you know, we know where each fighter's advantage is. You know, Cavanaugh was in control for a long time, and he wasn't able to finish it. That could be a little frustrating. That could be a little disheartening, knowing that you're about to start the fight where the other fighter has the advantage. He needs to look to take control of the fight again and put the pressure on. He has to assume that Poe used a lot of energy to get out of that situation, even though he wasn't able to, and that he's going to be able to put him right back where he wants him.
Fellas, if you're either corner, are you telling your fighter to get this to the ground, or are you happy with how the stand-up's gone? I guess if you're Cavanaugh, you're saying go right back where you were.
Well, I was going to bring it up right before you said that. A very overlooked aspect of MMA is the corner, because obviously Cavanaugh made a huge change coming out in that second round. So his corner must have saw a weakness in Poe's game and got in his ear about it, and Cavanaugh came out and looked like a completely different fighter. So I like the stand-up of both fighters so far. It looked like in the second round there, Cavanaugh definitely had the ground game advantage, but as we've seen, Poe's not always that easy to take down. So great stand-up.
Nice countering from Poe.
Poe seems to be much more comfortable in his own range here this early in the third round.
You see, he is comfortable, but he is tired too.
Yeah, he's tired and he's dropping his hands when those low kicks come in. Oh boy, he can't do that. Nice straight right.
Walked right into
Cavanaugh walked right into it, didn't he?
Good combinations by Cavanaugh too.
Yep, and good head movement. And here we are back against the cage. Let's see if Cavanaugh can get this to the ground.
You know, now Cavanaugh has the underhook, and Poe. Beautiful trip.
There we go.
Great step through trip.
Now, he could pass the side. However, with Poe's back against the cage, that might not be as advantageous. By keeping him side by side with the cage, he can't use it as an advantage to explode outward or push off of or a wall walk. So he's got his back flat to the mat. He's actually comfortable here. He's going to look to pass and then look for the mount almost immediately.
Look for that right leg of Cavanaugh to kick over.
Does he have room to kick it over? I guess he's got space.
So Poe doing a much better job of not absorbing punishment this time. You know, round 2 when he was in this position, he was eating a lot of heavy shots.
Yeah, and you see Poe trying to dig in some dirty little strikes with his inside arm, trying to keep poking the ribs of Cavanaugh.
That all scores.
It certainly does. And now he's in a good spot. He's taking these short elbows, but he could drag that knee right across Poe's stomach and take mount and be in a really good spot because he'll have Poe again side by side with the cage.
He's not even looking to do that, Charles. Oh, might have spoken too soon. He's back up on his knees. But
well,
he was sprawled out belly to belly there for a little bit.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, and I think he had success there in the last round. And if I'm him, I'm going there as soon as possible. And it's there, like we're talking about. But he might be feeling something we don't. He might feel like he has a submission there. He's trying to trap the arm. He might feel like he could just ride this out, and he's more difficult to move from side control. A lot of guys have better side pressure than mount, and you know, with the 10-second bell, he's going to finish on top.
Here we are. He's going to finish on top. He's going to win this round, and Poe just unable to mount any sort of counter to the ground pressure from Paul Cavanaugh. And they're hugging it out because there's a lot of love in this sport.
Looks like Poe got his eye opened up there at the end of that round.
Short elbows at the end. I'm sure that's where it came from.
Yeah, there was some shots. We couldn't quite see the angle or the damage of it, but you know, we saw a lot of movement. And even though he was doing minimal effort, you know, he was staying tight, he landed a lot. And that round he definitely won, and I think ultimately he was able to steal the fight with that strategy. So, you know, Chris, what you were saying earlier, excellent corner work, great adjustments, and that's what wins fights. That's why this is a team sport.
And a lot of credit to Paul Cavanaugh, having only fought basically once a year for the last 3 years. You know, coming back against a guy like Leonard Poe. Again, no cupcakes here at CageZilla.
No, sir. No, sir. We saw some very vicious shots that he dealt with, and, you know, that's got to make you feel good, knowing you can hang in there. And, you know, while some may say he was saved by the bell, it was certainly close. He was able to overcome a big deficit and put himself in the position he needed to win.
Chris Fuller gets a scorecard from the judges. Not expecting any surprises, but let's see what they say.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecard for a decision. Judge A scores the bout 29-28. Judge B, 29-27, and Judge C, 29-27, all in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. In the red corner, Paul Cavanaugh!
The 29-27 scorecards are indicative of a 10-8 round. Obviously the second or third. I'm not sure I saw that, but you know, when you factor in that much control, I think it didn't really make a difference. The right man won the fight.
Yeah, I agree with you on both counts. I think maybe it might have been the third with those short elbows coming down just repeatedly. Not sure I would have given that 10.